whose loved ones are locked up. I'm scared I'll die in prison. He said, describing a high fever and lack of food. In New York City, as of Tuesday, the coronavirus has killed 6 inmates. What? I find that incredibly hard to believe. It's killed 6 inmates and sickened hundreds. The actor Alec Baldwin on Sunday called on Governor Cuomo to release vulnerable inmates from the New York State prisons, including older inmates, pregnant women, and those who are immunocompromised. I definitely think that's something that really should get a lot of play, and it's something that really we were only really the left wing was first talking about when it came out to the front, and it really was not a massive thing, unfortunately. All right, here again, reporting from the New York Times. Cuba, a country long known for dispatching doctors to needy countries as part of a decades-long medical diplomacy effort, said on Saturday it was sending more than 200 doctors and specialists to South Africa, where they've already sent a lot more doctors to a lot of other places. Let's give a shout out, shall we? Let's give a shout out to Cuba. It's incredibly helpful stuff what they're doing. Round of applause to Cuba right here, because they've really done some impressive work. There is no denying it. Whatever your feelings may be on Cuba, whatever part of the political spectrum, you have to give them credit here. This is some good stuff that they're doing. The contingent is part of more than 1,200 Cuban health professionals deployed to 22 countries to help fight the pandemic. The group was scheduled to arrive at an airport near Johannesburg on Sunday, according to the Cuban embassy in South Africa. Cuba has sent, since the 1960s, has sent more than 100,000 workers to countries that have requested help. And I think that really comes from a sense of really deep solidarity. And I think you don't get that from you certainly don't get that from right-wing countries, capitalist countries. It's a sense of solidarity with the international community, and even countries that have really done things to Cuba that were designed to destroy it. They've tried to send doctors there, they've tried to send help, and it's really kind of a sense of all for one for all. That really is admirable and cool to see. Cuba sent more than 100,000 workers to countries that have requested help since the 1960s, and more than 30,000 Cuban doctors, nurses, and technicians are currently deployed in more than 60 countries, mostly in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. Cuban doctors have helped fight the Ebola virus in West Africa, blindness in Latin America, and cholera in Haiti. They are really awesome, and they're really good. They have some really, for a country that has been shut off by the United States for years and years and years, they have had some really incredible medical developments, really incredible. There's been talk of them developing a possible cure for AIDS, and they've really made some medical advancements and devoted so much into their medical system, and is definitely the pride of their country, and you can see why. The efforts have earned praise. They have earned the country praise for bringing medical help to the front lines of crisis, and that's why I said New York Times, they're great for reporting, but and they're great for kind of a source of information, and we'll criticize them more a little bit in our next story, but they do have a little bit of a problem here. Since the 1960s, the efforts have earned the country praise for bringing medical help to the front lines of a crisis, but they've also drawn criticism from those who suggest the deployments are a way of deflecting attention from the government's poor human rights record. The programs have also been seen as a tool to exert Cuban influence around the world. So, yeah, pretty much, only Cuba, they could, and you could probably guess the people who say, the people who are pushing this, really kind of awful take here, this awful talking point, are people who are deeply tied to the military-industrial complex. They're people who have really direct interest in seeing other people suffer, whether it's from some sort of payments that they're getting, or just generally what they believe in some cases. In their heart of hearts, they love war, they love and more importantly, they love the United States asserting their dominance, and they see Cuba as a threat that stands on the way, because they're determined to see threats because it's profitable for them to see threats. That is their big goal, their big aim in life, is to kind of see threats for the United States that they would kind of face in some sort of trouble. They pose a threat to the United States. I guess Florida is the one that is they're really some of the probably some of the biggest people that pose a threat, or really pose a threat. And a lot of the stuff that you hear, if you look at a poor human rights record, like these same people making these criticisms have facilitated some of the worst acts in the United States human rights record, and in a lot of the same countries that Cuba is currently helping out right now and providing relief to. And it's just really something that I think you have to just give them a lot of praise. So huge shout out to Cuba. Cuba has charged other countries for the services. Some doctors have criticized the arrangement, saying they get too small of a share of the money and move to rank ranks with the government. But it's really, I think, the quote-unquote defections that the United States, like whenever Cuba actually tries to come help somebody, the United States was always like, you got to defect Cuba. Like your work, like you're doing a humanitarian service on behalf of your country, and like pretty much the only people who defected actually ended up kind of infecting again, I guess you could say. They came back, which is kind of funny. Yeah, Cuba has never charged for disaster response or medical emergency deployments before the pandemic. Cuban officials said it's not clear if Cuba is charging for coronavirus deployments, but that's what they've always done. They've helped. They've come to countries who are in need because they have a sense of solidarity that the United States, or not really any other really country in the world, has. And it's really times like these where the New York Times comes out and reveals itself as really a mainstream media outlet that is in direct service to the United States government and military-industrial complex. They never stray from that line here. They're not a group that kind of strays from that line with some of these paragraphs that I'm seeing in this article. The group in South Africa includes family physicians, epidemiologists, biotechnology experts, and other specialists, according to the Cuban embassy in South Africa. So that's who they're sending in there. And yeah, once again, huge shout out to Cuba for doing the right thing on this. They're really looking great. Let's just go quickly here through some COVID news. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has returned to work at Downing Street. He will be at work on Monday, weeks after entering the hospital for coronavirus and being treated in an intensive care unit. He's raring to go, said a Downing Street spokeswoman by telephone on Sunday. While battling the virus, the Prime Minister had deputized Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab to carry out certain duties. Johnson revealed on March 27th that he was infected, but continued to work. When his hospital condition worsened, he was admitted to St. Thomas's Hospital in London on April 5th. The next day, the Prime Minister was moved to an intensive care after his condition deteriorated and was given oxygen treatment. The government said Johnson did not require a ventilator. Children in Spain are heading outside for the first time in weeks as the country's lockdown begins to ease. They also had a much stricter lockdown than we ever did. Children took to the streets of Spain on Sunday for the first time in 6 weeks as part of the government's plan to gradually ease nationwide lockdown in response to improved coronavirus numbers. The rules allowed children to stroll from their home from 1 hour within 1 kilometer of their home, accompanied by an adult. And the sight of parents pushing strollers and teenagers riding skateboards brought a semblance of normalcy to Madrid and elsewhere. So it's pretty cool to see. Always love to see some people coming out and like Europe and other countries, them opening up their countries. It's going to be a huge test case for us to see if we can do this or something at least similar in the future. 2 Dutch mink farmers are quarantined after their animals were affected with the virus. They have apparently no coronavirus cases in North Korea, but rumors still fly about the health of Kim Jong-un. The same secrecy that led to a widespread belief that North Korea is experiencing a coronavirus outbreak, even though it has reported no cases, is now fueling speculation that the nation's leader, Kim Jong-un, has fallen ill with an unknown cause. Depending on the news outlet or social media post, Kim is believed to be 36, is recuperating from a minor health issue like a sprained ankle, or he's in grave danger after a heart surgery, or he's become brain dead, or is in a vegetative state after heart valve surgery gone wrong at the hands of nervous North Korean surgeon, or one of the Chinese doctors, or one of the doctors China dispatched to treat him. So we don't know. It's really kind of I wouldn't trust anything that you read about that until we get some confirmed reports. Yeah. Also, in the United States, there are some lockdowns lifting, as I'm sure you know. The United States reached a sobering milestone, 50,000 deaths States still are now moving to reopen. Even President Trump coming out there saying that he disagrees strongly with those decisions of the states to reopen. Social distancing will be with us through the summer, she said on Deborah Birx, the White House's coronavirus response coordinator, said on NBC's Meet the Press. Governors of several states on Sunday's talk shows begin to lay out blueprints for restarting their economies. Cuomo in New York said during his daily briefing that it was unreasonable to expect people to stay inside all the time when the summer arrives, especially in the most populous parts of the states. Those states are beginning to loosen their social distancing restrictions. Businesses are confronting deep uncertainty, and many corporate executives say it's simply too soon to come back. Yeah, for them to come back. But for the factory workers to come back, it is never too soon. Like, that's what we've all known. I think what we've all seen from the coronavirus crisis is it's too soon for the people who can work from home to come back. But the factory workers, they need to get back as soon as possible. So, but still, businesses large and small are sticking with having employees work from home or have decided to wait to reopen. Inside the White House officials are discussing replacing Alex Azar, the Health and Human Services Secretary, after a string of reports about the administration's slow responses to the pandemic and separate controversy about an ousted department official. Two senior administration officials said. States continue to be hampered by a shortage of testing capacity, and as the virus spread into the suburbs and rural towns of the United States, overwhelming hospital and emergency medical workers is taking a toll on scores of volunteer emergency response units. So that is very, very disturbing stuff. But back where it all started, China says Wuhan now has no more hospitalized coronavirus patients. All right, that's what we got going on right now. Coming up next, we find the both sides of injecting yourself with Clorox. That's next. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for listening to programming from the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. It really means a lot. So if you like what you're hearing, please consider supporting us by checking out our merch store available on Spreaker.com/TSWS. The link for it is there. Also, if you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on wherever or however you listen. You can do it on Spreaker by leaving a positive comment, and of course on iTunes by rating and reviewing us 5 stars, and on whatever possible program or site that you listen to SWRN on. Leave a nice review, leave a good comment, let us know your feedback, and also if it's negative too, I always welcome constructive feedback. Thank you so much for listening, and now let's get back to your show. On the rest of Newsflash we have for you today, we're talking about the New York Times, what they've been up to. Also, we're talking about Congress, hundreds of middle managers making themselves just a little bit richer, and a piece from Katherine Krueger about when we could be going back to normal. And did normal ever exist? That's the real question. We're going to be answering it. It's Newsflash. All right. So, yeah. The New York Times, guys, they've been up to something. And when they write the history about how America's elite handled the Donald Trump presidency, this tweet here probably sums it up quite well. This is from the New York Times. At a White House briefing, President Trump theorized dangerously, in the view of some experts, about the powers of sunlight, ultraviolet light, and household disinfectants to kill the coronavirus. Yeah, this is the whole news cycle that happened kind of Thursday, Friday, Saturday about President Trump kind of suggesting that people should be drinking bleach or injecting bleach or disinfectants. And this tweet, they got a lot of blowback for this. This led them to release an article that was almost as clunky and really in the opposite direction. Trump's disinfectant idea raises questions about the very stable genius. President Trump has often said he is exceptionally smart. His recent suggestion about injecting disinfectants was not. So really kind of a massive kind of overcorrection, but I don't get why they get the sense why they can't win, but still, you don't need drinking bleach is a stupid idea. There's no denying that. It's anyone with common sense. The tweet in the accompanying story referred to the instantly infamous moment this past Tuesday, where Trump began musing loud about whether COVID-19 can be combated with possible ultraviolet light. Here is